witches have the reputation, and people in Wicca therefore, because we are in that tradition, have a reputation of do spells. And how can you be religion and do spells? Because prayer is where you surrender to divinity, and spells are where you impose your will. How can these two things coexist? And they do coexist. They absolutely do coexist for us.
In my opinion, and the way that I choose to use the tarot, it is absolutely about giving people back their free will.
There's lots of worship of different personalities in Hinduism, like demigod worship of Shiva, Brahma, Lakshmi, Durga, Hanuman. And these are all considered by Krishna to be demigods. And he says in Bhagavad Gita that Kamais taista hitagyana padyante nyadevataha. The one who doesn't have full knowledge worships the demigods to achieve some material goal.
I think it's an incredibly scientific process, although the science is nebulous, because there's no visible connection between anything. It's a nebulous science, but that's what can be thought of as the psychic element to this, is that invisible connection. When I'm doing a set of card reading for a client, I'm not reading the client, I'm reading the connection between the client and the cards in front of me. The client has a psychic link to those cards, and it's that energy that I try and move into and try to get him to understand, or try to bring insight into this darker surface.
What is absolutely consistent amongst people in Wicca and pagans generally is that we reverence the goddess. You know, that divinity is female as much as male, and that women are as much sacred beings as men are, and that there's a tremendous imbalance that happens, and something very, very wrong happens when half of humanity, which for us is half of divinity, is desacralized.
So ultimately the person who's supporting us is God or Krishna. So the best way to serve is to serve him. And also serving is a pleasurable thing. Like our ego might not like the idea that we have to serve or that we're a servant. But doing things for other people is actually much nicer than doing or trying to get things for oneself. The more selfish one becomes, the more unhappy one becomes. And the more selfless one becomes, the more one serves others, then the more one becomes happy and satisfied.
There's a lot of fear about Wicca, people called witches, and that's a lot to do with the nature of conversion. The west of Europe and the British Isles were converted to Christianity by missionaries in the 4th and 5th and 6th centuries AD. And a standard technique of conversion is to call the deities of the existing native religion demons or idols. You know, this is as true of the Hindu deities when they were, approached by missionaries, that the Hindu deities were said to be demons and devils.
I was looking for meaning in my life and happiness. I was feeling lost, and I wanted to understand, who am I? What's the goal of life? Where do I come from? I wanted to understand, why we're here. If you're just engaged in an activity and you don't understand what the purpose of it is, then that's not very intelligent.
Human beings live in belief systems. The whole world centers around belief systems. We tend to associate with people who share our beliefs. Our beliefs will give us a sense of identity about ourselves. Our beliefs will give us purpose. In primitive times, the belief systems of humans were quite limited. But as consciousness, knowledge has expanded and grown, which it has drastically over the last 50 years or so, then we get into different belief systems. Even people who are skeptics, even people who are agnostics, sit to a belief system. We can have belief systems in science, we can have belief systems in nature, we have belief systems driving our everyday sort of actions, belief in vegetarianism, all these have potential to overspill into fanaticism.
We look happy, right? It's like, it's a nice thing, you know, you get a taste. Padam Drishtuva Nivartate, you taste bliss, ananda. It's higher than any orgasm or any hit or anything like that. That's why we don't engage in those activities. That's why we can give them up, because we're being given something superior. You said, are there any restrictions? There's lots of restrictions in Krishna consciousness. We don't eat meat, we don't take intoxication, none, nothing. We don't gamble, we don't have illicit sex.
We do spells. Witches do spells, and we do them, however, in a completely religious framework, and that framework in which we do them is a worldview in which we have very strict moral guidelines, that every person's personal will is absolutely sacred, that belongs to them, nobody can interfere with it, that we're, as priests and priestesses of a religion, we are dedicated to life and we're dedicated to humanity, and everything is connected, and we serve that.
Tarot is a very, very powerful tool, and it can be used in positive ways, but it does also get used maliciously at times. There are always vulnerable people out there who are open to be exploited by people using various different methods, especially in any methods based in belief systems.